Welcome to the transmission, folks. I don't know. I'm stuck on the Alex Jones thing. All right. So I'm testing the capacity of this laptop. It's a very slow, very weak laptop. So hopefully this works out. All right. I'm just going to pretend that it does work. Okay. So I'm just coming on late tonight. It's the festive period. I'm a bit of a night owl. I thought we'd just sit and reflect. I thought we'd do a wee chat. I thought we would come together around the fire and discuss topics of interest. One for me, I think one that grips the haunches of many an early Christian, early in your faith, is the fear of hell. The fear of hell is quite a tool, isn't it, to instill fear. It is one of the first things we'll use to discipline a child, is the fear, right, of consequences. There's something to it. I think there's utility in comprehending negative consequences for actions. And so I don't want to suggest that there is no place for that as a concept. However, the concept of hell, I believe, goes too far, insofar as I believe that it besmirches the character of God. Because it is that idea, isn't it, that when you look at an atrocity such as the Holocaust, you say, well, they went from the ovens of Hitler into the oven of God. For these people who are not saved Christians, and so God had to deal with them. And there is this idea that God abhors sin and cannot be near it. And so there is some kind of abysmal, tormentous, horrible inferno where God puts all the dross to burn in agonizing pain for infinity. And that fear, to be perfectly honest, has only abated, I would say, completely tonight. I always had this little niggling fear in the back of my head, like that I might go to hell. I might go to some horrible dimension of fire and torment. God might put me there. And it was only when I really sat with it in the wee hours and the quiet hours of tonight that I thought, no, I don't fear that anymore for me. That's not something that I'm particularly worried about anymore. And instead, what I fear most now, and it comes from a true place, you'll sometimes hear people say things like, my biggest fear is that I just won't be able to serve Jesus properly. And you don't believe it because it's so twee, it's so cliche, it's so lame, right? It just doesn't sound authentic, right? Because it sounds like there's a million other things that a human being can fear. But I have to say, like, my true fear now is that I'll not perform properly on earth. And that's the fear that hangs me up now. I'm not afraid that God is going to punish me because I have had God revealed to me. The more I've learned about Jesus, the more I understand and appreciate that God loves me, that God likes me, and that God has my back. That's true for you. That's true for me, right? It's not like we're in some Thunderdome, right? It's not like we're in some stadium with an audience round about us and we're standing in that stadium like a gladiator with sword and shield contending with God. Because that's the image that the mainstream church puts in your head, It's you versus God, and God hates you. Good luck. Thank you, mainstream Christianity. Thank you for that wonderful and refreshing thought. Of course, that's just horrible. But that's what they do. They say, no, God hates you. God thinks you're a horrible sinner. And you will find many a sermon saying so. But I do not believe that to be the case. In fact, it's not a belief. I know that that is not the case. And you can only find that for yourself. But let me weave back into the original point of how lame it can sound to say that, no, my biggest fear is not being a good servant to God, right? Because again, that's something that cannot be communicated. You know what that feels like if you've been there, and I'm there. And I feel, we all have a calling in our lives to love, and we all have these plans in our head of how that might perfectly unfurl, how that might perfectly blossom. And I sometimes hold myself back because I don't see the perfection. I see the flaws. I can imagine a better set of circumstances. So 6 months from now, I'll be in a better position to call up my loved ones and to be there for them in a much more present manner. 6 months from now, I'll be more willing to set up a nice dinner for all my friends and all my family. And hey, look, there's nothing wrong with that. That might be true. Okay? Like if you're in the throes of addiction, then that will be true. However, I sometimes think like someone as such as myself, the barriers I put up, there's something, there's something unresolved. There's something I'm not confronting. God has given me a challenge. God has given me a thorn in my side. And it manifests as anxiety, as adrenaline, as cortisol. And it torments me with self-limiting beliefs. And I feel like God has given me that to wrestle with. And that the wrestling has been going well. But I get frustrated when I feel like it's not going fast enough now, These are the knots I tie myself in. Kingdom of the Son of God, Christus Rex Regum. Absolutely. Christ is King, right? Christ is King. Christ rules. And I'm just trying to pretend I speak Latin. That's all that is. I appreciate that, though. And I wonder if at this time of year we might reflect on the weights, right? Paul speaks of the weights that we might carry. And I was listening to someone today speak on the aid, the help, the support that God renders unto man. And I will be honest with you. When I hear this, I don't believe it. Now, I could lie to you and say that I do, but in my heart, maybe that's too harsh. Maybe that's too harsh to say. I'll say I don't feel like I believe it strongly enough. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I don't want to be too harsh on myself. I don't believe it strongly enough. I do believe that God cares. I do believe that God loves me, but there's a part of me that sometimes believe, hey, God's very hands off. God's sitting at the top of the garden reading his newspaper, and he might hear me scream out when I've skinned my knees, and he puts the newspaper down and just has a little look, and then he's fine. He's fine. And then God puts the newspaper back up and stops paying attention, so to speak. He's aware that I'm there. He's aware that I'm fine, but God's not going to get off his recliner and come in and, pick me up, dust me off, and miraculously cure my skinned knees, right? And that's the world. This is the environment we're in. This is the environment of the human being. That's the realm. Them's the rules. But there seems to be a population who believe in guardian angels and their intervention and aid in this world, that they will help us. And I would like to believe that. I do believe that, but again, I don't think I believe it enough. I believe that there are people, earth angels, who follow their intuitions, who follow their conscience, and in so doing, render aid to me. I have experienced this recently. I have been lifted up and made to feel inspired by the goodwill of people, by the goodwill of you. And I recognize God in that. But again, there is this population who are saying it's even more than this. That there are angels who desire to help you in your life. And if you ask them to, they will. I wonder what Joe Schimmel would say about that. Now, what does that tell you about me? That the first place my mind goes to is Joe Schimmel. Who am I? Well, there's certainly a skeptical element to who I am, right? Because I'm thinking, oh yeah, the devil poses as an angel of light. Okay, so I'm immediately cast in some kind of skepticism. And so I wonder about that. I wonder, am I overly analytical? Is my mind spiraling too much? And does that come from a place of insecurity? A place of fear? Does that have a presence? There's some language, biblical language, that's just out of reach of my mind. Stronghold. Is there a stronghold of fear in my mind? And does it hold me back? These are the things I'm inviting us to reflect on at this time of year. Just how terrible we are. I'm only joking. Like, we're all human beings. And, hopefully by me doing this, I'm modeling some kind of behavior, personal development, self-reflection. Okay. So there's an element of honesty I want to have with myself. And you'll notice I'm conditioning it. I'm not saying I'm disbelieving. I'll say it aloud and then see how it feels in my heart, how it feels in my conscience, and then I'll condition it based on the feedback I feel in myself. So I do believe that God cares about you, about me. I do believe that God has made provisions for you and me. And I question the intensity of my belief, the completeness of it, because I am in some ways insecure and in some ways fearful. That's my condition. Hasn't always been, and it's not immutable. It can change, but I want to be honest. And I'll tell you a story about that. People see things flying around me. Is that an orb? Is that an orb? No, it is a fly. It is a fruit fly. So when I was a child, around 8 years old, had a very negative thought come into my head. And I remember it well. And whenever I would pray, this negative thought would boom in my head. Now, I say negative. It was a blasphemous thought. In particular, it was an insult against the Virgin Mary, right? So Jesus' mother. Now you're thinking that's Joe Schimmel. Get Joe Schimmel on the phone. That's demonic oppression. It doesn't matter what you call it. That's what happened to me. Now, I wasn't a particularly I was a nice kid. You know what I mean? I wasn't a rude kid. I think I was quite innocent, naive. Yeah, I had this thought come into my head. Now, a material explanation is I was anxious and my brain threw out a what if. So when you're anxious, your mind runs scenarios and it'll throw up risk assessments. And so in my young, sentient, developing mind, the big risk was, what if God hates you, right? You're contemplating reality. What if God hated you? What would make God hate you? Oh, I know. Let's insult the mother of God. That would be terrible. And so there's my natural explanation. It's a form of obsessive compulsion called pure obsession. And so whenever I went to pray, the insult would be in my mind. And I hated prayer in church, particularly that moment where the minister would say, let's just have a quiet minute of intimation of our hearts to God. And I would be playing whatever kind of song or whatever I could think of in my head just to not pray. That lasted from 8 years old until 21 years old. That is a substantial amount of time to fear God and to fear prayer. Now, I would pray, but that would disturb the prayer. That kind of thinking, God hates me, God is judging me terribly because this thought is coming into my head. Now, I did mention right there, it lasted until I was 21. What happened? What do you think happened when I was 21? What do you think happened? Do you think an angel appeared to me and told me, hey, it's fine? You know, God's got a cracking sense of humor. He likes to wind up his mother as well. Like, what do you think happened? I'll tell you what happened. A thought occurred to me. And it seems so obvious, but it wasn't. The thought was, if God is real, if I genuinely believe in God, then God knows my heart. And God would know that these thoughts I'm having do not come from a position of intent. I don't want to have them. God will know that I hate these thoughts. And also, I was learning more about God because I started to read my Bible quite intensely around 19 years old, 20. I started to lean into my faith. And so the revelation of God taught me that God is love, that God would forgive me, and that God already has forgiven me and God loves me. And that instead of trying to hide my shame, I should open myself up and expose my mind to God. Because if I let God in, God will understand that I don't hate I don't hate them. I don't know anything about the Virgin Mother at this point. I'm not even Catholic. I'm a Protestant, so it's not even on my mind. Why am I doing this to myself? It disappeared like that, like that. Isn't that incredible? It's about 13 years of oppression, 13 years of obsession gone with just an ounce of understanding. And there is the power of knowledge. That stronghold evaporated in an instant when I got my compass right, when I went from a position of disorientation towards orientation, and when I learned the heart of God was something less judgmental than that of an angry man. So that was edifying. And yet here I am today. I'm 36, which scales me. It scales me that I'm 36 years old because I don't have the things that I thought I would have at this age. You know, I'm not married. I don't have any children. And I feel a bit vulnerable at times. I thought I would be stronger. I thought I'd be more integrated. And I'm also afraid because I have these invitations to be more. I've got a director of a groundbreaking company begging me to work for him. And I can't do it just now because I don't feel like I'm where I need to be. Now I will. I know I will. I know I've got this resolve inside me to do it. But my God, it has felt so hard. These last couple of years have been extremely trying on me. I won't lie. As what I'm doing, I'm modeling the reflection. I have suffered tremendously these past 2 years. Tremendously. I have lost confidence. I have struggled, to keep, just keep myself social and keep myself together. Anxiety has crept into my life. And some of that was the lockdowns, right? My mental health just it just got tough, I stopped going out as much, stopped meeting with friends. It was, it swallowed up a lot of my confidence, and I've been fighting ever since to get it back. Like, I was the type of person who was jumping onto planes and was happy to zip up and down the country. And, I've had lovely invitations extended to me and I would take them like that, but I haven't done it. And I'm thinking, I'm 36, I'm going to be 40 like that. And then once I'm 40, there's 50 coming up. And it's like, oh, calm down. But at the same time, I'm feeling that, you know what I mean? I don't know if anybody else in my audience can give me any kind of, I don't know, advice. Like, what is life when you're 36? What was it for you? How do you feel right now if you are 36 or younger? How did you manage it if you're 60? Or you might be saying, oh, well, I'm 60, but I was married when I was 21. Things are going terribly for you. Well, I don't know. All unbelievers do not believe until the moment they believe. Simon Skinner. Yeah, that's the dawn, isn't it, Simon? The dawn in the heart. And it just changes you. Just changes you. Yaswell Soaring, 58 years old. Tell me, what was being 36 like for you? Do you remember? Were you busy? Were you too busy to think about it? Because 58 doesn't seem old to me anymore. Doesn't seem old to me anymore. I remember a day when I would have. I think when you're in your early 20s, you think everything's so far away. And then suddenly it's like, oh, I better get this together. And I can see that I can, but it's a struggle. Yeah, you were busy. Yeah, that's that. I found burdock root tincture 2 years ago. I feel 10 years younger. I've never tried it. I've never tried the burdock root. We have a drink that's quite popular in the United Kingdom. Probably the same over your way. We call it dandelion and burdock. You guys probably call it root beer, but that must be like a more potent form of the root. So, yeah, busy at 36. This is the worst because I've taken this sabbatical. I was working at a local school, but I had to pull out, and I've just been writing and studying the Bible, and in a couple of months I'll try and get myself back into work. Because I live in rural Scotland, in North Ayrshire, and I'm trying to get myself into the city because that's where all the opportunities are, and that's where people are calling me out. And my head's just been not in the space for it, so I need to buck up, as they say. But again, I wonder, is it going to be like that when I made that prayer when I was 21? and things just, the strongholds just melt away and I find my confidence again. Or I don't know. But I certainly need to lean back into my friend groups. I feel like friend groups took a massive hit during the lockdown, and I haven't done enough to bring them together. Like I'm quite an extroverted person in a sense. I would say that I'm an introvert, but I'm certainly extroverted on some level. I like to get in amongst people. I love people. I like to network. However, I do like to recharge, you know. And I feel like I've been in a season of recharging. That's what they say. About 40 in 2008 is when I was grabbed by God and He started straightening my thinking. Well, that's powerful. That's powerful to learn, yeah. You know, and it goes to show because I find, and you'll know this yourself, I know a lot of young people who end their lives in their 20s, in their teenage years, and too many, way too many. And I think it's because they think their condition is immutable. I remember I was watching Dog the Bounty Hunter, and Dog's brother or cousin, Young Blood, said suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I feel that's right. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. There are experiences you just cannot fathom when you are 17. There are experiences that you cannot fathom when you are 27. It's not until you become 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, or like my grandmother, 95, you can have these unique experiences, you know, going through these different stages of life and all the relationships. And, you know, I used to teach a class of 8-year-olds. And I would say to them, do you know, children, I have been asleep as long as you have been alive. And I just found that such an interesting sentiment to share with them. Like, you know, at this point in my life, I have been asleep for 8 years, and that's how old you are. Isn't that crazy? I feel like it just kind of switches up the perspective a little bit. I'm convinced the more you chat, I feel like your sentence got cut off there a little bit. Unless I'm convinced the more you chat, in that case, I'm going to chat. I don't want to let my audience down. You know what I mean? I don't want to let my audience down. We're going to turn this into a little salsa lesson. Little Cuban salsa, everybody, right? You ready? Okay. No, I'm not going to do that. Sonic, good to see you. We're just reflecting. We're reflecting at the end of the year. And so the fear of hell has abated for me. And I wondered if it has for you. I just don't fear that anymore. And instead, I am just afraid that I will not live up to my calling. And I think the calling can take a number of different paths for people. It's not necessarily the hero's journey in the most stereotypical sense, okay? It's not like you're going out on an adventure to find a mystical sword to save the princess or whatever, right? I knew a woman, a young mother, who was diagnosed with breast cancer. She had to lose a breast, and then she got the all clear. And then she was told it was back, and it was in her throat, and it was in here, it was there, it was in her hip. It was like, oh my goodness, yikes. And you know, she's talking to me during this time, and I'm just thinking to myself, right, just stay positive, right? And I said it in as best a form as I could. You know, I didn't want to, you don't freak out when someone tells you that, right? You want to show strength and determination. And she got the all clear again. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if she's ever going to be out the woods, right? She might be fighting this thing for the rest of her life, but there is a hero. There is someone who has answered their calling. Not necessarily a Christian, right? But she did know what preterism was, which that astonished me because this was a Scottish woman in her 30s. And I just have to say, wow, I am just astonished by that person's journey. And that's how it can look, you know? It's not necessarily about building an empire. It's about, here's the hand you've been dealt. Now shuffle the deck and make it as best a hand as you can. And so that's the journey. That's a journey for all of us, I believe. Here we go. I'm convinced the more truth you learn, the more you see what they call sin is fear taught by them. Horrible. Yes, I do believe that there is that aspect of the blind leading the blind. And it's funny because I was speaking to someone recently and they told me that they believed that a lot of Christians are actually worshipping Satan. Now, there is a full preterist, but I don't think he'll take that title. He's more dynamic. His name's Derek Jester. And he strikes me as just there's something called a bush priest. I think it's like bush priest. And it was this traveling priest who would just it's almost like just emerge out of a bush and just kind of regale you with information. And Derek has that energy. He's very earthy, you know. He's a very soulful character. And he's very, what's the word? What would you say? It's not acerbic, but he is challenging. He challenges the listener. And he says that the Jesus that the modern Christians are worshipping is Satan. And I think he calls the Bible the mark of the beast. And I'm just like, wow. And the thing is, I don't take that literally. I feel what he's saying. And I'm like, that's powerful stuff. And if I was to be charitable, Jesus did say to believers in his time that they were of their father, the devil, the father of lies and the father of murderers. And Jesus did make reference to the synagogue of Satan, right? And so I see Derek as someone who's making similar claims. And, you know, as Shade Stone intimated in a previous video that we made together, you know, the body has need of different parts of the body, and some temperaments are going to be different to mine. I don't know if I would say the exact same things that Derek is saying, but I'm glad he's out there saying them. That's his journey. That's his calling, right? And I'm all right with that. Let him do his thing. Don says they did not see Jesus come back. What do you make of that, Roger? What does that mean to you? How do you respond to that information? Simon says, that's brilliant. Simon says, do this. As an unbeliever at 60, I studied the Bible to falsify it, but found that I was a believer when I studied about the flood. Kent Hovind videos helped. Simon, that's incredible, you know, to have that flexibility and to have that desire, you know, to lean into something transcendent like that. So I respect that journey, Simon. That's incredible to hear. And, you know, you just keep at it, keep pushing, you know what I mean? I think it's really inspiring. Even though I might not agree with Kent Hovind on everything, I think Kent Hovind is actually an okay guy. I think he's actually all right. I've been invited to speak to Kent Hovind as well. I might do that at some point. Yep, Jesus reconciled the world. People just don't know it yet. It's an interesting thing, isn't it, Sonic? The idea that the reconciliation is there. This person I was speaking to, they intimated that they believed that people were worshipping Satan, yes, but also that they thought that the powers of good may have lost, and that ultimately good would win, but they thought that there was an ominousness and a certain malevolence that was a bit, had its tendrils into many different facets of the world. And it's interesting to think about. I'll say that much. It's interesting to think about. I believe that God is in the world. God has a presence in us, in his angels. Yes, let's have it. Let's give it up for the angels. And I suspect the powers of good are very much in control, but that the world isn't reaching some, and it's finished. Have you ever completed a video game and there's maybe a nice dance sequence and a big festival atmosphere because you've completed all the progress in the game? That's not happening. What we're going to have to do is constantly refine the human experience on planet Earth and maintain, through pragmatic maintenance, the values of fairness, equality, justice, law and order. We'll have to keep these things and nurture them and develop them. That's what this world is all about. But some people, they imagine utopia and they get quite aggressive about bringing it around with an iron fist. So we'll see. We'll see how that ultimately plays out. Roger says, Don says every eye did not see Jesus come. They saw an army come, which meant the Lord came, but the Lord himself did not come. Okay, Roger, I'm getting a sense of what you're saying there. You see, Roger, Don believes that Jesus fulfilled the prophecy. He does. But what you're noticing is a disconnect, because you read, every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. Okay? And you think, well, what does that mean? Well, you can imagine a scenario there where everyone is resurrected, including the people who pierced Christ, and then they see him come, as if riding on a cloud, like a man on a cloud. But what Don is saying is that the reason Jesus says that is because it will be known to the people that when Jesus comes in the clouds, which is a motif in the Old Testament, when God comes in the clouds with thunder, that there is judgment coming. And so Don's making the case that those people in the first century will know Christ has returned with power, because that judgment is the actual manifestation of that. It's not that a man's riding a cloud. It's the judgment that's coming. And those who pierced Christ, they would see it, because it would happen in that generation. That's the case, if we're being charitable, that's the case that Don makes. Now, you might find, no, wait, there's a disconnect there, because it says one thing, I'm imagining this happening this way. Don's trying to fiddle with it to make it seem different. I understand where you're coming from. I do. And I'm sympathetic. However, I do believe that Don wins that one. I'm in Team Don there. Get out of here, Roger. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. No, you're very welcome here, Roger, and you should be skeptical. You should be. And you should challenge it, because you have to get it right in your own heart. And it doesn't matter. Ultimately, God loves you, right? It's not a theology test. That's not what this human life is all about, right? It's about, you'll know them by their fruit. Okay? And the fruit is the good stuff. It's not all this head knowledge. Yeah, as Will Soaring says, how do we clean the inside of the cup? I have spent the past few weeks contemplating that, and I've come to the conclusion that wouldn't the inside be our thinking? It's a really, really, it's a really topical question, that. How do we clean the inside of the cup? I'll tell you a story. So, yeah, to all the men listening, my biggest hang up is the women. See, you women, I'm only joking. But my big hang up is being a man, having the impulse to find women attractive. Okay. That's it. And I almost feel like, do I need to neuter myself? Do I need to lob off the testes? Right. And I'll tell you what I did. I decided I'm not going to gaze upon a woman again. This is when I was like 24. I'm not going to do it. And so I remember getting onto public transport, and I would know there's a woman in my periphery vision, and maybe she's wearing something to draw attention. I'm like, I'm not looking. You know? And I thought, God's going to love me for this. God's going to think I'm the coolest guy ever, you know? I remember some woman sat beside me in the train, and she was pressing her legs quite tightly against mine. And I was like, this is terrible. This is so insulting to me and to God. And then I got into the train station at Glasgow Central, and there was this woman wearing this incredibly short skirt. And I said, damn it, I'm not looking. And you know what I did instead? I turned around and I looked at all the men, and every single man, and it was all of them, immediately zeroed in on this woman's arse. Every single one. And I was like, look at me. I'm not like them. You know, I was the righteous Pharisee, you know. I'm not like those sinners. And then I spoke to someone older, and I spoke to someone wiser. And they told me, you know, the fact I find women attractive is not a dysfunction. It's not a sin to notice beauty. It's not a sin to notice attraction. And see, this is what I used to do. I used to remove myself from social groups where there was women reactively, because I hated the way the men turned into dogs around about women. And I noticed I burned a lot of bridges doing that, to the point I went into this pub, and there was a woman sat at the bar who knew me, and I could hear her talk. And she said, see that guy over there? And she pointed at me. I went to high school with him for 5 years, and he's not even said hello. And I'll tell you why I didn't say hello. Because she was beautiful. Because I thought she was beautiful. And I thought, I don't want to engage with her. I don't want to have any sinful thoughts. I don't want to be like the other guys. And then I was confronted with that. And I thought, that's terrible. Because everything she said was right. And I did say hello to her. Eventually, I did go, hi. But it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame that she doesn't know that. Hell, should I tell her? No, that's weird. That's weird. Hey, person I haven't spoke to in a couple of years, I actually think you're attractive. Guys, you got to stop me. You got to give me some advice. But yeah, I think that's the inside. That's the inside, right? That's the, and like, guys, I'm gonna say right here, we're never gonna get it right. We're never getting that right. Right? We're gonna be sitting on our deathbeds, and I'm gonna see a nice nurse come in and go like, you know what? She's quite attractive, and it's like, oh, I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. No, I'm not. It's fine. God loves us. God thinks we're funny. God likes us, right? God likes us. God thinks we're funny. God understands the human condition. I mean, obviously, if your inner cup is saying other things like, oh, I want to, you know, fill my basement with the hides of, and just you put in your own weird thing there, then that could be questionable. But yeah, I think the normal human stuff, we can attenuate that, we can modulate that, we can work ourselves out there. Yeah, says, I think we're in the short season, Revelation 20. No, we are not. I'm only joking. I don't think we are. I don't think we're in the short season. I think the short season was between the years 66 and 70 AD. Do I believe that? Yeah, I do. That's what I think. Something like that. I don't have it all in my head just now. It's all written out in multiple manuscripts, but I'm writing about it. I'm studying it. Get back at me if you want to toss that idea back and forth. Sonic says, don't think it says every eye will see at the same moment in time and space. I saw him in 2000. Every generation that seek him will see him. Jesus must be here now. He told me he would never leave nor forsake me. That's beautiful, Sonic. Jesus Christ is returning in the hearts of everyone who will turn to him. Jesus Christ is there. It's almost like his hand's already on your shoulder, and you just need to go, oh, hi. And he's like, yeah, I was waiting for you to turn around. I was waiting for you to notice, A little something like that. Maybe not as pretentious. I don't know. Jesus has never left me, he says. Yeah, beautiful. Good. Beautiful sentiments. Cloud representing our conscious awareness of him. I like that, Sonic. Yeah. I can tell you're a soulful man coming out with stuff like that. Roger says, Don says the spiritual eyes saw with perception of the mind. Don says the wicked will use their spiritual eyes to see him. Those that pierced him with their wicked eyes will see him. Okay. I wonder, is that you highlighting maybe a contradiction then? Like, so you're saying, so Don's saying that spiritual eyes will see, but then maybe you're highlighting, wait a minute, is Don also suggesting that wicked people are spiritually discerning this too? My response to that would be, there's two levels of discernment. You can look at a scene like the Roman Jewish war and go like, oh, there's karma. There's karma coming to kick you in the hiney. But you could also see it on the deeper sense of, oh, this is something spiritually metaphysical. This is profound. This is a big change. It's almost like there's different levels to see it on. There's the immediate material level of, oh, the temple's being ripped down. That's bad. So that's the first thing. Then there's the other level, which the Jews never saw. I mean, the current Jews who practice Judaism today, the Orthodox Jews, they don't see this. That was the end of the covenant, so to speak, the end of the old covenant, right? People can say the new covenant's a refreshed covenant, whatever, but you know what I mean. It's the end of the old guard, the end of the old way, the end of the Olam Habzeh, or is it the Olam Haba, right? This age of the age to come. That was the end of this age. But they wouldn't perceive that level. They would only see, oh, there's a temple being torn down. That's probably something. You know what? I should probably study Judaism a little more. Because I wonder, what do the Orthodox Jews attribute that to? Why did the Orthodox Jews think the temple fell? Do they attribute any kind of spiritual significance to that event? I haven't actually studied that question. I probably have, and I've just forgotten. Yas says, I've been hit by a train, hit a preacher's house going 100 miles an hour, and fell 34 feet. Many more things he saved me from. Wow. Is that all one event? Did your train come off the tracks, go through a preacher's house, and then fall 34 feet? Wouldn't that be amazing if when you went through the preacher's house, like the preacher snagged onto the train beside your window and shared the gospel with you as you're falling, and then everyone's fine, right? That's the most important thing. Everyone's fine. I'm sorry if that was actually really tragic and people lost their lives. That's, I don't mean to make light. That's just a remarkable series of unfortunate events. Oh my goodness, yeah, you've been through the war. You've been through the wars. But no, that is the grace of God. And I've heard many a story like that. I have, I've heard some incredible stories. So I do have that belief. Sometimes I see tragedies befall people, and there doesn't seem to be that same grace extended to them, such as what happened in the Bible. I forget, when that temple, or no, was that temple, some kind of structure fell down and killed a bunch of people in the Bible. And there was a question about it. And Jesus responded like, oh, you think this happened to them because, maybe they weren't as spiritually pure or something as you. And he makes this profound point about how that's not the case, I wish it had been developed further, because it just feels it's kind of abstract and nebulous, but at least it kind of it touches on that question of, well, why did those girls in Rochdale beside Manchester in England, why were they sex trafficked? Why did that happen to them? But it didn't, it didn't happen to these people. You know what I mean? There's all these kind of questions. Roger says, scriptures and Jesus says they will see me, he, himself, him. Oh, if you're going to play that card, Rogers, we need to talk about, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till the Son of Man comes in his kingdom. You will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man returns. These are the days of vengeance, when all things written shall be fulfilled. Fill up then the measure of your father's guilt. All the righteous bloodshed of all the earth from Adam all the way to somebody else, from Abel to Zachariah, son of Berechiah. And he says, assuredly all these things will come upon this generation. That's Matthew 23, not 24, which also repeats that similar line in the context of when will these things be, the time of the end. It is the last hour, says John. The ends of the ages have come upon us. Peter and Paul make that kind of sentiment. God will crush Satan's head underfoot soon. There's all these sort of imminent statements, right? So I could turn around and say to you, well, how could you say that Jesus didn't return when he seems to have expressed that quite clearly? And then whatever reason you give, whatever you did to find that reason, could you extend the same charity to Don and saying that he's doing the exact same thing that you're doing? He's just reversed engineered the exact same mechanism that you've used to construe all those verses to fit your belief. And then you can do the balancing act, right? Which one seems to make most sense in the narrative? Says, don't look to the left or right. I keep my head straight. That cured me from looking at women. That was a nice wee riff that I made there. That was funny. And I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Don't look left or right. Sometimes I just want to look left and right. I'm just playing. But I do need to find a wife. I want that. If I could have that, that'd be nice. God willing. Look, I don't mind if I don't get it, but it would be nice. I wouldn't mind a wife. I wouldn't mind having children. I'm very much open to that. But again, whatever God's plan is, I've been a teacher. You know, I've been fortunate enough to have lovely relationships with women and help teach children and stuff. So I've ticked those boxes, you know. But it would be nice if I could have it for myself. Roger's in there. Yep. Did not say comes back. Says done. I hear you, man. I hear you. Simon says, I love saying that. Futurism only started to enter thinking when Jesus did not physically return in the 1st century, according to Mayer, as they waited for him to appear. Yeah, there's a really interesting study that I made part of the first section of a book that's coming out next year. I'm waiting for the editor to get back to me. He said, we're all good, we're all going, but he's on holiday just now, so we'll find out all the little bits and pieces in January the 3rd. But the first section of my book covers a lot of that stuff. I haven't committed it all to memory because it's quite a lot of information, but they kind of look at the Hellenization that was going on, the kind of Greek influence, the heavy Greek influence in the 1st century, and even before the 1st century, you know, BC and stuff. Once the Jewish leadership was basically vanquished after the Roman-Jewish War, the church nebulized, but it nebulized into a Greek world. So all the kind of Christian writings and stuff were kind of like, right, we'll take that out of the hands of the Jewish leadership and we'll deliver them into a palace in Rome. And so the church kind of it kind of started to flow into this other thing over here. Instead of Paul, Peter, John, you know, all espousing all these ideas and giving clarity, it went all the way over here to the Roman Empire, you know. And then we have people like Eusebius saying that, Constantine's kingdom is the kingdom of God. You know, this is it. This is what we were waiting for, was Constantine. And it becomes, there's nuance to that, right? There's nuance to that. But he did share those sentiments. You should tell her. What do you have to lose? Oh, yeah. I might tell that girl, actually, that I'm sorry that I maybe wasn't. I'll need to meet her again. I know where she hangs out. I'll maybe go. I'll go to the pub. I'll go to the pub next year. And if she's there, I'll buy her a drink and I'll just share my heart with her. And I think that's healing. I think that would be a good thing to do. Mud flood was Armageddon. I've heard of the mud floods. I had a colleague and she loved to talk about the mud floods, man. And to me, it was a novel idea, right? I'd never heard of it before, but just the idea that perhaps there was ancient societies, and in those ancient societies, turn the gains up so I can recline a bit. In those ancient societies, there was a flood that came and covered a lot of what was here before. So people think that maybe like meteor storms, the late, do they call it the late early bombardment? Some kind of meteor shower may have destroyed the infrastructure of a previous civilization, and that we may have maybe ancestors or other humanoid races that once were on the planet. Some people have suggested that a lot of America was already there. It didn't have to be built. People just went over boats, and then, you know, America was just waiting for them with all its big buildings and stuff. And that's why there's these large archways, because people used to be giants, right? And the Native Americans will tell you stories about giants, right? I take it with a pinch of salt. I'm very skeptical, right? I shared that at the start of the video. I question everything, so I don't often follow a conspiracy. I know people hate the label conspiracy theory, but you know what I mean, right? The kind of fringe ideas. But you'll notice I'm very charitable too. I'll lend my ear because, hey, we could be wrong, right? Sonic says, the fall was a separation from him. We remain separated till we meet him. That is where futurism came from. Yeah, I feel like futurism maintains the separation, doesn't it, psychologically? Satan changed times and laws. Well, I can see a case for that. But people that just ain't met him yet. Yeah. Only God can change times and laws. Yeah, long from. Israel is not the real Israel of the Bible. I totally agree. Yeah, Simon says, I like Meyer because as a futurist, he knows Jesus was expected in the first century, but remained a futurist nonetheless, as the creed of his denomination. That guided me to preterism. Yeah, here's the thing, Simon. You will find people like that in Christianity, and like you, I respect them for their honesty. But see, to be honest with you, and I'm going to challenge people like Meyer here. And look, they might be smarter and wiser than me, but I think it's inherently disrespectful what I'm about to say. Okay, but I question the values of someone like Meyer, who knows better, yet chooses to live a life of quiet deception. Now that I've said it out loud, nah, I take that back. That doesn't agree with my heart. Because he could have his own reasons, right? He might just be there as someone who loves. And so I don't know the intentions of this man's heart, right? He could just be there saying, look, I think I know, but I'm going to stay here for the sakes of the people around about me. And there's good people here. So, you know what I mean? There's people here better than me just because I think I know something, right? But they're practicing some love and he can get something from that, right? So he doesn't want to take himself out and cause a stir. I can respect that. And yet, I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's the same with that Dan McClellan. Dan McClellan is a Mormon or a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints. Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know. Why do they insist on giving themselves such a massive name? Just call themselves Mormons, please. So he's a Mormon, Dan McClellan, but he doesn't engage his audience insofar as like telling them how he reconciles his fairly skeptical, analytical, academic study of the Bible with his Mormon faith. Because it seems the two are completely irreconcilable. And so I just wonder at that division, right? It's like, surely this man lives in cognitive dissonance. There must be an unease. There must be burning questions in his heart about the Mormon faith, considering his highly skeptical, highly secular, just sharp, spicy analysis of scripture and, history. So do I respect these people? Yeah, I do. I can't say I don't respect them for that, but I also notice the tension. I notice the tension, and I wonder if they lived a life that was more harmonious and straight and true, would that be more positive for the world, right? Because take that out of just a religious denomination and then apply it to politics or law. And all right, this guy's a corrupt judge. All right, this guy's a corrupt cop. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like he's in a, does that make sense? I don't know if I'm going too far with that analogy, but just the idea that someone's in a position where they know there's a truth, they know there's a higher way, but they're choosing to subvert truth in some surreptitious way to be non-threatening, to be, not to be a source of angst or to perturb the status quo. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to ruffle feathers, so they will turn the volume down on the truth. Is that what's happening? Is that me being uncharitable? It might be. Again, I'm just spinning my wheels here. This is it. If Jesus didn't come back, there'd be nothing left. I believe that. Best to go in with eyes wide open, Will. Yeah, nicely said, Dean Floyd. Nicely said. Although I do wonder at what point, because I was saying a lot of stuff. Yeah, in Daniel 12, he says, 1,285 days, and blessed are the ones that make it to the 1,335 days. I think the last 45 years started in 2001, and fire will come down in 2046. That sounds like a very personal series, like a personal application of that. Yeah, I feel like maybe you're leaning on your own experience, and that's fine, and it might have personal significance to you. It might be true that those things play out from your perspective, but I think in the grander narrative, you could apply those things to the first century, and that's what I'm writing my book about, and I'd be happy for you to, discuss and critique that, but I'm not saying I disagree with you. I just think I see it differently. In my opinion, you have plenty of time to have a wife and children. We will just be living in camps, camped out. Well, something, yeah. I'm calling you, yeah. Sorry. Something, I do wonder if some of these, like, people talk about the magnetic poles shifting, the magnetosphere weakening, and if that happens, a solar flare could wipe out the grid and send us back to the freaking Stone Age. Now, if that happens, that might change the world a little bit. We'll see. I wouldn't mind living in a camp, though. I can maybe make that work. Sonic says, I think we are the third day. Sorry, I think we are the third day church if 1,000 years is like a day. That's an interesting way to put it. The creed is above the New Testament in Christianity. Oh yeah, the creeds become that totalizing ideology I spoke about. They are this basically bondage, right? That's what the creeds are, bondage. Sonic says, tension is always there when people are under the law, like LDS. Yeah, and it's a shame because there's some really sweet people in the Latter-day Saints Church. I don't know where that comes from. If it's just like, I don't know if it's a consequence of the people of Utah, because I think the people of Utah descended from Danish people, Scandinavians. Or is that more the Dakotas? But I think all up there, that's where all the kind of Danish, German, people back in the 1700s when they went out to the Wild West, right? Got themselves up to Utah and the Dakotas. Why the hell would you go to North Dakota back in the day? That would be such a tough life. But yeah, maybe that tough life made them nice people. I just wish that I wish them happiness. Dean Floyd says, eyes wide open when finding a wife. Yeah, thank you for clearing that, man. Because I was making a lot of funny comments before about, observing women. So, yeah, I'll keep my eyes open for finding a wife. Yeah, man, it does hit me deep because I do wonder. That's one of the things about my future. I'm curious if I'm going to step up to be a husband, just to be a man. I'm questioning my ability to answer the call, and I'm not doing it in a spiral in depression or anything like that. I just have a little bit of angst about it, a wee measure of angst, and I think that's human, right? Is it? Thank goodness. Afterward, eyes half closed. That's funny. Luther. Ah, really? Luther, I love it. You actually named after the Luther. Why can I not think of his Martin Martin Luther King? That's not who I'm thinking of, is it? I'm thinking of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You better learn plants. I'm learning plants. I know a few plants. What are we talking about? Geraniums? Are we talking hibiscus? You know what I'm saying? Are we talking about that's all the plants I know. Tulips, uh, ivy. Um, what's the nice one? Begonia. That's hydrangea. I was thinking I love hydrangeas. Am I saying that right? Hydrangea. I don't know. You know what? This is good. See, that's what we're doing just now, just talking. Doesn't that feel good, man? It feels good to me. I feel like this is what I wish I had a church. I wish we could just all teleport into the same room. I suppose that's what the technology allows us to do. Because I think fellowship is what I've been missing. I've missed fellowship. I haven't actually fellowshipped outside of work in almost 4 years. I went to 3 weddings, and they were lovely. I went to 2 funerals, and that's it. And I need to do more. I want to be there for things that are not massive, like massive events like that. I just want the day-to-day to include that beautiful fellowship, So, yeah. There you go. It's a wife or a book. It's one of the two, isn't it? It's a wife or a book. Well, right now it's a book. It's a book right now. So we'll see if the wife will come. But, yeah, man. I don't know. So that's where I'm at. That's the fear of earth. That's the fear of earth. I don't fear hell. I have anxiety about the earth. And yet, what does Jesus say about that? What does Jesus teach us about worry? What does Jesus teach us about anxiety? Does Jesus say, be anxious for everything? Do you see the lilies and how they are regaled? You should be incredibly anxious because you do not look anything like that beautiful lily. I don't think so. I think Jesus said not to worry, that not even a sparrow hits the ground and God doesn't know of it. And all the hairs on your head are counted. That suggests and communicates a level of intimate knowledge, doesn't it? That the hairs on your head are counted, and I'm getting fewer of those as the years go on. So God doesn't have to keep such a big number in mind, but I'm feeling that. I feel the intimacy of that. Not a sparrow hits the ground, out there in the field somewhere, 40 miles into the dense woodland. If a little sparrow's life comes to an end, God knows about it. Think about that. Think about that level of intimate knowledge. Yeah, wives seem to come when you're not looking. You're here. If you go back 295 years from 2001, it would be 1711. That's when the reset, the time. 2001 fits the last 45 years with 9/11. I say you're doing that numerology stuff. You're doing that numerology. Sometimes, if you can get the significance from that, go for it. Jackie says, Earth is the processing place for refining of souls. I feel that. I feel that's very true. Earth is the processing place for the refining of souls. Yeah, it is. It honestly is. I think that. I feel that to be true. And again, this is why I don't fear hell. I don't believe that God has set anyone up to be tortured forever. That doesn't happen. It besmirches the character of God. There are some souls that incarnate into this world and they don't get the same quality of experience that we enjoy, right? Because they might be psychotic or they might be incredibly simple and angry. And, you know what I mean? I don't say that to be disparaging at all. It's just, they are me, I am them. When you did it to the least of these, you did it unto me. There's like these people who come into the world and they join gangs, and then there's violence in the gang, and they kill and they hurt and they deceive and they steal, and then their lives come to a quick end. Even that person, I think, God has a plan to have a soul experience a tortured life. And even if they don't go through lots of refinement, they may experience a lot of anguish and hardship in their short life. And then in the afterlife, I believe there'll be processing of that, which might look hellish, but I don't think it's designed to torment them. I don't think God's up there thinking, right now, I'm really going to give it to them. God's thinking, right, that wee unfortunate soul is going to experience a lot of the toughness and the grit, and it works towards some good. I can't explain that. Yep, Luther, you're right in there with the Gregorian calendar. That is interesting, isn't it? How that will change. So, yeah, I mean, you're quite right to attribute significance to that. Who am I to say, oh no, you're looking the wrong way? If you can see the significance in that, then yeah, please share it. We can all, gain something from that. Yep, Earth is like a womb, so we can be born into eternity. Oof. We're coming out with some good lines today. I'm not using gematria. Check you out. You're not even using gematria. Are you showing off there, Luther? It's like, hey, look, I'm not even using gematria. My hands are up here. That's so funny. No, that's cool, man. Jesus is setting the captives free. Mm-hmm. If Jesus went to hell and set the captives free once, I think he'll do it again. And the interesting thing there is, I think there's a lot of hell. This is what I think, right? I think heaven and hell are now. You don't go. They're not a place you go to. They're a state you are in. Now, is that fair to say? Because there's a lot of lovely people going through hard times, and I wouldn't want to say you're in hell. But what I'm saying is you shouldn't fear hell, right? You shouldn't be afraid of hell. Hell, God is a consuming fire. God is a refining fire. There's refinement in the flame, right? And so a lot of our lives do have hellish quality to them. It's not punishment. We're not being tortured. We're being refined. We're being challenged. I look at my hands right now, and ever since I was a child, my hands, the skin in my hands breaks. It's some kind of eczema. If I touch plastic, my hands become extremely dry and then they crack, and it's embarrassing and it's very limiting. It makes doing physical labor like painful for me. I used to work in a kitchen washing dishes, and all those chemicals and stuff used to just tear my hands up. I remember being in primary school around 11 years old, and there was this girl in the class that everybody fancied, right? Cassie. And all the boys wanted to dance with Cassie. And I didn't want to dance with anyone because my hands are ripped up like Freddy Krueger, And I had to wear these white gloves, and I still wear cotton gloves if I'm playing a game console or something, And I was asked by the teacher to dance with Cassie, right? All the boys wanted to dance with Cassie, but the teacher elected me. It's like, wait, William, you dance with her. And I could see all the boys being a bit jealous and stuff. And I don't know, I kind of like that. Thinking back at the time, I was quite nervous and stuff, but I think that's kind of beautiful, And she's a nice lassie. And she's married with 2 or 3 kids now. Aye. Kind of, I don't know, it kind of moves me thinking about the past. I'm very exceptional that way. I don't know if any of you have ever been moved thinking about the past. There's James. I commented in another video that one day equals 1,000 years. We are in the 6th day. Prophecy concerning Yeshua was finished in 33 AD. The Hebrew people in 70 AD. But we have until 2033 AD to the fire. Hi, James, that's cool. That catches my imagination. I find that intriguing. And yeah, it's an interesting date to fall upon, 2033. And so I'll certainly have my ear against the ground. I've not delved into that particular study myself, but I find it intriguing. So thank you for sharing it. Luther says, I'm using history and his words. You have to go back, not forward. Interesting. Going into the past, going back to proceed is a very common thing, isn't it? Especially, the topic of this video is quite reflective. So we're kind of going back to go forward, aren't we? We're kind of looking at our life that's played out, making some assessments, and then taking the solutions that we can, or whatever we find as momentum, as some kind of, I don't know, fuel to lead us forward. Tech refinement will do. That's a good word. Nicely said, Sonic. Simon, futurism offers the excitement of speculation, looking for the signs in the Antichrist, but preterism seems to have nothing to look forward to. Yeah, that is the third section of my book. I have a piece of prose in there that is very emotive and very reflective, because I want to catch people, because I've wrote this book and it goes through all the prophecies and all the scholarship and everything, and I'm trying to lead people to the point of accepting full preterism. And then once I think I've got you there, I have this last section of a book where I want to just kind of catch people and be like, whoa, hey, listen, I know what's going on in your mind right now. You feel like you've been promised something that's been snatched out of your hands. And that, you know what I mean? So I kind of go into that and I develop those ideas, and I share something. I share a lot for the heart. Again, I don't have it all up here. It's all written down, but it came out really nice. I think people will respond positively to that. And Simon, thank you for so beautifully bringing that to mind. Yeah, right. The idea of eschatology is not just a religious concept. It's a political one. It's a personal one. We all reflect on end things, end times. Every one of us has an end time. We all do. And man, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So many loved ones, I just reflect on how small the Christmas table gets each year. Special, man. You know what I mean? It's sad, but it's beautiful. It's sad, but it's beautiful. And yeah, that Christmas table continues to get bigger, because there are youngins, I have cousins who have had children, and this is where I want to get in there. I should be making these bridges happen. I have the personality. I have this oomph to me. You've seen it. I've evidenced it on this channel, and it's like, I live this quiet life, but I feel like I'm full of energy. I'm full of passion, and I've poured so much of it into this book, and I need to defend it, and I need to confidently demonstrate this is an hour, and this is a truth that I want to share, and I want to do it in a presentable and sophisticated and personable way, and not just in this part of my life, but in my academic and my professional and my personal life, all these things, And I think hopefully this reflection helps stir that in all of us, right? Stirs it all up in all of us, right? Sonic says we are made like him, which is a beautiful sentiment to hold to your heart. Burdock root is excellent for that. Yeah, I need to get some burdock root. Yep, Simon, Jesus said, it is an evil and wicked generation that seeks a sign. Well, there's a little cherry on top. You're looking forward to the Antichrist, Simon? Exactly. Jesus also said, I came not to take you out of this world, but to keep you from evil in this world. Yeah, so there's a scripture I don't think I spend a lot of time thinking about. Got a piece of paper and I might make a little video on that and develop it out. I think, sorry, my computer's going to shake now. Of this world, but to keep you from the evil of this world. Okay, cool. Very cool line, Sarek. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. It says it would be cool to write down some concepts we all have, not the controlled ones. For what it's worth, I'm glad I'm here. Well, really, thank you. I really appreciate that, man. I'm thankful for you all too. I really hope to make this something. You know, I really hope to give a lot of energy to this. Again, it's not just about preterism. It's about us as people who love God in the present time. And I want to build this channel out. This is very casual, you know, but I plan to get myself like a nicer camera, a more powerful computer. There'll be a little neon sign behind me to make it look official. Some nice audio equipment, and just get this thing launched into the next phase, you know. And we can all say we were here in the modest days, right? We were here in the early days for it. But by the end of 2025, I hope we will manifest those changes. But it's not just an empty hope. I'm going to put the pedal to the metal. I'm going to put the rubber on the road. And yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll see tribulation, but he has overcame the world. Mm-hmm. Well, we all see tribulation, don't we? That's true. That is true. Regardless of where we stand, what our eschatological outlooks are, tribulation comes. And then it's about taking the lessons, right? People often say of preterism or full preterism that perhaps you are imparting a false confidence, or you are, as a full preterist, perhaps an agent of deception because you're stealing away people's guard. You're taking away the shield, right? And you're exposing people to wickedness because they'll be more likely to fall for the deception of the Antichrist if they don't see it coming. But I never preach that. I always think people should be discerning, you know, because there's nothing new under the sun. And people will try and screw you over. People will try and steal from you. Governments will find ways to monopolize and centralize power. And we need to be wise to that, you know? Just like the way YouTube took down my live streaming privileges because of their firearm policy, even though it's illegal to own a pistol in Scotland. But just because I have a toy Desert Eagle, which I'm gonna play. Oh, that's the toy. A golden fake Desert Eagle. Like lost me my live streaming privileges. 2025 is the collapse of the money system. We'll see. Well, if it's the collapse of the money system, it's a perfect time for it. Perfect time for it. You know, while I don't have much. Nah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this world has in store. But we'll see it confidently. We'll see it hopefully. Right? Let's speak it true. Let's speak it into truth. I personally think I can take things way too seriously. I know that sometimes I've been accused of, in my personal life, sometimes being too jovial in the past. But I think in the last couple of years, I've taken things pathologically too seriously. I've lost the inner levity, and I've forfeited so much of my mental and spiritual space to these strongholds of stress and concern and worry. And I shouldn't do that. And it's not to say I should lead my life like it's a video game without seriousness at all, but it's that I should find the measure, the balance. I need to soothe the amygdala. I need to soothe the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic, all that kind of stuff. The what's the region of the brain that includes the amygdala? No, it's left me. But there's a whole part here. The limbic system. Is that what I'm making reference to? I need to cool the. You know what I need? I need that root. I need that root. I need that burdock root, because I bet you that calms your nervous system, right? That'll cools off the vagus nerve. That's what I need. Just bring my electrical system into a nice, relaxed state. It's because I think I've wound myself up over the last 4 years, and I'm only just starting to undo those knots. And yeah, I need to work. It says Ecclesiastes 1:9. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. I like that. I find it to be true. You know, that's why I trust you, Lord, is the most powerful words a man can speak. You know something, Sonic? I feel like this year I need to speak those words a little more loudly. You know, see that there's nothing new under the sun sentiment. I've been a part of that. I have been a part of that. I have been the mistake. I have been the repetition of a mistake. I have experienced the repetition of mistakes. People who struggle with addiction, I don't personally struggle with a explicit addiction. We all suffer with addictions, right? Micro addictions in some way, but people who suffer with explicit and obvious addictions like drugs and alcohol, they get a very obvious display, an obvious manifestation of repeated error, of repeated mistakes. And it will kill some, but thank God it will save some, because they'll get to rock bottom and it will be so explicit and they will just want to change. And it's an inner change. Nothing in the world will convince an addict to stop. Nothing, except from that spiritual light, that little intuition, that little voice inside them that says, enough. That's it. And that's not to say it'll be some beautiful sobriety. It might have ups and downs and hardships and stuff, right? They might be sober 3 months, fail, and they'll be sober 6 months, fail, and they'll be sober 2 years, fail, and they'll be sober 10 years, and you know what I mean? But we all struggle. We all have those struggles. And I've certainly been a part of failure, and I've experienced failure. And I've got to the point of saying enough is enough. And that's why I'm looking at 2025 with optimism, because I really feel this. I don't want to keep myself shackled down. You know what I mean? I feel like the strong man has been bound. And I'm not talking about Satan. I feel like it's my passion has been bound. It's this inverted sort of little season, right? It's like all my passion has been subdued, and the wickedness has been given a little season to just pummel me. But with that, I've been refined, and now I'm breaking the bonds of that have been set upon me, you know. So that's what I'm looking at 2025 like. I've got 110 here. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new, it has been already in the ages before us? Yeah, wise words, Luther, wise words. Dean says, greatest respect one can show another, take them at their word, all God's ever asked of us. Yeah, that's true, Dean. I feel scared. I feel scared that I won't. I feel scared that I'll fail. I feel scared that... But see, when I say it, I feel scared. I hate it. I hate what I'm saying. A part of me rejects it. A part of me doesn't agree with it. A part of me saying, no, you don't, and no, you shouldn't be. Man, it's tricky. It's tricky. Maybe it's like trust. It's about trusting God, isn't it? And maybe a part of me is thinking, hey, are you sure you can trust God? It's like that Indiana Jones when he has to step out onto the platform that can't be seen. Is it the Temple of Doom? And he steps out and then, like, he puts his foot out and then, makes contact with the hard surface and then he walks across the chasm. I feel like God's asking me to do that. God's asking me to do it, and I'm scared. But I think you do it anyway. You feel the fear and do it anyway because I have faith, right? That's who I am. That's what I'll do. PTS is what we are suffering from, held down by our capture. We defend every day. Yeah, post-traumatic stress. I certainly feel I have something of that. I mean, all post-traumatic stress is anxiety. It's that disordered fear, right? Those strongholds of fear that come into us, playing it out in our heads too often, becoming an expert in our own torment because we press those buttons in our head too often when really we shouldn't. Yeah, man. Maybe if I spent more time meditating in the things of God, more time in joy, more time in happiness, and stop pressing those buttons, I'd be a much more confident man in 2024. But I know the man I can be. I know the man God is calling me to be. It doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter how tall he stands. It doesn't matter how much he weighs. It's an inward man. You know what I mean? Whatever I am 5 years from now, I just hope that inner man reflects the glory of God, Simon says, I'm a preterist that does look forward, but not to another Jesus, but finding the one that already came. Preterism spreads the message that he came and is our judge. Yeah, I like that looking forwardness as well. It's so important, Being a preterist isn't so. Being a preterist can be about looking backwards, and there's people that are really good at it. And Don Preston is the best at turning that analytical mind back and looking at the past and showing what has been. But there's other people, as Simon is, people who look forward. Shadestone's really good at that. Ward Fenley, he's quite good at that too, isn't he? And, sure many of us here are. This says, I'm a pretamillennialism believer. You're just making stuff up now, right? A pretamillennialism believer. I'm only joking. I like that. I'm loving life. You'll get past the depression. It's an interesting one. I don't see myself as depressed, but repressed, certainly. Repressed and anxious. I don't see fear, really. I see anticipation that you might succeed. Yeah. Yeah, to be honest, I think there's an anticipation. There's a certain giddiness, right? And thank you for saying that, honestly. Man, this is why I need more fellowship. Just, you didn't have to say that, Simon. You didn't have to say that. And you did. And it's impacted my life. It's made me feel a wee bit better just now, so I appreciate that. And same with you all. Your company means that. And hopefully for each of us, we get a little something out of the fellowship. Roger, I agree, all things is fulfilled, but I also believe Jesus himself came. All right. Okay, Roger. And that's why I like to leave space for the nuance, Roger, because it's like I will sometimes jump to conclusions based on something someone has said. Like, all right, you've said that, so you must also believe B, C, D, E. When in fact, point A weaves in between lots of different ideas that, I might not think. Dean says, I've experienced real fear twice. It's paralyzing. Yeah, man. I'm kind of putting a brave face on it, but I've had awful, awful anxiety these last 4 years, like paralyzing, life-changing anxiety, like, just panic attacks and stuff like that. And it's been horrendous. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting my confidence back. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know why I let it affect me so badly. I'm trying not to beat myself up about it. And again, I'm getting my strength back. So time to kick ass is coming. It's coming. Seeking you'll find. You have to seek to find it. God knows we know how to fill our bellies every day. That's so true. Lethal, that's so true. You have to seek that food which is not of this world, right? And to look for that daily bread that's not flour and water. So it says, pray this help us start to understand what a great and awesome covenant God made. It's a now thing that helps us in this life and raises us up, right? Absolutely. When we have anxiety, he is with us, showing us that the world is not as what we first thought when little. Yeah. And also, in all my experiences of fear, usually I get to the other side of it feeling tired, sure, but a bit stronger. I recognize that, it's just a sensation. It's just adrenaline, just exciting my body, and my mind just, playing tricks on me. Do you smoke weed? Nah, I've never smoked weed. I have a friend from work who indulges, but I've never indulged. I tell a lie. When I was 19, I would get blackout drunk. I used to drink. I think it was just one summer, blackout drunk. And somebody told me that while I was drunk, I smoked weed. And that was when I actually started to have anxiety for the first time in my life. Before that, I never had any anxiety. I was completely fearless, like stupidly fearless. And then around the age of 19, I got into this summer of blackout drinking. And then apparently I'd smoked not even a lot of weed, just like a few puffs. And I just remember my whole reality just felt different. Like something felt weird, and it was like something came over me. And I don't know. That's where Joe Schmo would come in again and say it was a demon. But in a way it was, like just this strange perception came over me. And, that was my first dance with anxiety. And it's kind of been up and down since, like it's never been as bad as it has been in the last couple of years. But yeah, it's a shame that lockdown happened because I was really finding my stride. No, I've never been vaxxed either. I had vaccinations when I was a baby. Like I had that MMR, right? That MMR was a controversial one. But no, I never got the COVID-19 vaccine. Part of the reason was because of anxiety. I was like, I'm not getting that. I've not tested that. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things, I think moving away from friends and not engaging with my family as much as I would. And of course, my dad died when I was 19. So I had all these terrible things happen, and it kind of, threw me off the kind of cozy, happy-go-lucky lifestyle. But again, that's just part of this world. That's part of what it does to us. It kind of throws us for six. But yeah, my eyes are sore. Oh. Okay, right, we need to reach a happy conclusion for this video. Let's give ourselves 25 minutes for that, right? 25 minutes. Let's work ourselves into something cool. So we have moved away from the fear of hell, and we are engaging with the fear of earth. And what are we afraid of on this earth? Only those things that we give credibility to, because we stand from a position of power. We have victory. It is ours. So all the fear that we feel is the imagined fear, the delusions of this world that seek to seep into our skin and infect our souls and afflict our comfort. And that can only bother us insofar as we permit it to. And I have been fooled into permitting it because that fear told me that it was helping me. That fear told me it was safeguarding me from threats. And it may have told you the same, but it lied and it took and it continues to take as long as we continue to give. And it's about time we pulled on that rope and said, you want a tug of war? It ain't going to be a war. I'm taking all this rope back and I'm going to cast it elsewhere, because casting it into fear isn't working for me. That's the kind of confidence we should speak with, right? There's something like that. Yeah, a little bird dog. I think that's what I need. A little bit of bird dog to help me sleep better. James says, Willie, I put zero trust in man, so I think 2025 may drive us closer to World War III by the NWO. I'm actually excited to be a believer in our time. Such insanity, but there will be amazing things coming. I do believe that, James. I do believe there's a future coming that will be quite exceptional. And I do believe that the way we get there will be through a judgment of a sort. I think this world will encounter some difficult times because, hey, the world does, right? Out here in the universe, out here where we are, wherever we are, wherever God's put us in this time, in this space. And yeah, things can happen. And I'm excited too. I'm glad that God has greenlit us to be here now. It's an exciting time. And every moment's precious. This is a wee precious moment too. So, it's nice. Dean says, if Adam never faced a hellish future, why would anyone? Yeah, that's true. I mean, Adam was the OG, you know what I mean? He was the original gangster. So, Adam, he is, very much forgiven. Very much forgiven. Powerful words right there, brother man. Yeah, you know what I mean? We'll take it back from fear. We'll take it back from fear. Because that's what the pandemic was, an experiment in fear. That's what that was, by the way. It doesn't matter what you think. Like, we have the explanations from our government, and I'm pretty sure the US government has them too, but here in the United Kingdom, it was an experiment in fear. They wanted to scare people to make them adhere to particular rules. And you can speak to the benefits of that if you want, but I don't speak to the benefits of that. In fact, that was what my psychology master's degree was on like coping strategies to handle the stress of the pandemic. And it just was a cruel thing. It was a very, very cruel and stupid thing that we did to humanity. Evil. It was evil. And even the origins of the disease, that's evil too, because there's so much evidence that came out of a lab, and this is coming from me, a skeptic. It's just like, even that, who's the American, he came out of retirement, he's an American talk show host, he did a Jay Leno-esque type show, Stewart, you know what I'm talking about, that guy Stewart, Jimmy Stewart, Jon Stewart, I think it's Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart questioned it. We have the Wuhan lab and we have this Wuhan disease. Don't you think it's possible that the Wuhan lab had something to do with the Wuhan disease? He makes a good comical comment on it, but I think it's true. Yeah, it was evil, and unfortunately, it derailed me a little bit. But we're coming out the other end of this. We're coming out energized. We're coming out stronger. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad it affected me as it did. I'm glad that I've had this time to sit and reflect. I am grateful that I got to write a book. I'm so grateful for so much, and I think we can all be grateful. COVID was a reset to get rid of the petty laws and doctors that don't fit this. Yeah, that's right. The new normal. It's a shame. It's a shame how people act in this world, but we know our calling. We know where we stand. And this is why I say it doesn't matter. See the nuances of scriptural interpretation. That's one side of things, but we all share a worldview here, don't we? We all share a worldview where we all believe that there is a spiritual truth. We all believe in the power of God's love, and we know that is what we call, home. That is what we call God. And so that's why we are a collective, despite any differences. We're living in exciting times, the end of the futurism. That's right, the end of futurism, which is founded in pessimism of humanity to succeed, as optimism appears in all precious platforms. That's right. Burning optimism, I've never been able to shake it. Even in dark contemplation, the optimism's there. We've just come through the winter solstice. Every single day now we get minutes and minutes and hours. Eventually, here in Scotland, we'll have 16 hours of daylight. It's quite a nice thing in the summer. Yeah, and environment they control. Yeah, I'm curious about the environmental controls. We can certainly see that there is technology they can use to summon clouds and to dissipate clouds. I'm not so sure. I've heard of other things like HARP and all that. I don't know to what extent that stuff gets used, if it gets used. Again, I'm quite skeptical, but I'm open-minded. Yeah. C19 was a reveal of where people place their trust. Yeah, man, it really was. It really demonstrated the control of fear and just how insane people can be. There's nothing wrong with responding to fear. It's very natural, but some people were just callous and some people were very instruments. They became machines. They became tools of the state. And that was scary, to see that level of compliance. Because some things are more valuable than life, like human lives, like love, freedom. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger still probably cringes from that "screw your freedom" line that he gave. Fuck no, Arnold, don't say that in America. Yeah. So yeah, don't do that. Don't screw your freedom. We need to believe in our freedom, the freedom that God gives us to be free of sin, to be free of the things that afflict us, to be above it. And that's the kind of energy. That's what I want to go into 2025 with. And I don't know, it's cool. It's a very cool thing. Like you're saying, Simon, it is actually quite exciting. It is. It's a fun thing. Do you think the reason you drank so much is because you have a lot of pain? I don't know, to be honest with you. I think there was stupidity, naivety. I think I drank because I thought it was a social lubricant that would help me bridge a gap between having a lot of energy but not knowing how to use it well. I thought if I drank lots of alcohol, I could accrue social capital, like people would like me, and they did. They thought it was hilarious. They thought it was good fun. The more I drank, the more positive people seemed to respond to me. just in terms of people liked chaos. There was a right chaos vibe in amongst this scene. And as soon as I stopped drinking, wow. See the rejection, the cynicism, the questioning. Why have you stopped drinking? Like, what is? It's not that I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have an issue with alcohol. I don't drink really. I'll have a wee dram here and there just to be fancy, but I don't drink. And I don't know. There probably is pain. I think probably more pain now than there was back then, to be honest with you, though. But I couldn't imagine. Like, I don't like alcohol now. I cannot be drunk now. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate the sensation. It would make me panic. That losing control. I don't like to lack control. Not that I'm a control freak. It's just, to lose control of your body. That doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good spiritually, Not that I'm against people having a wee drink. Just not for me. He says, give strong drink to someone who is perishing. I used to drink whiskey only because I wanted to talk to God. I wanted to perish. Yeah, that's it. The whiskey gives some wine and much sorrow. It does say that, doesn't it? It does say that. Yeah. With much wisdom, there's much sorrow. Yeah, I remember that. That sentiment was shared in House. I really like the TV show House. The cynical Sherlock Holmes-like doctor played by Hugh Laurie, and he always was quite dour and cynical and sorrowful because he was so wise. There was an episode where he had this genius, and the genius was afflicted with something that made them dumb, and House cured them. And the guy was just so miserable. And he said to Dr. House, look, can you make me stupid again? Because I was so happy. I was so happy. I wasn't thinking about all these thoughts. And so House does that to him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drink is warning. It's a snake. Yeah, I think so. I think drink can certainly be that. I've seen drink ruin lives. I've seen drink kill people. Obviously, it's not just the drink, right? The drink is just a tool for the wickedness to destroy certain souls. But I've seen it kill at least 3 or 4 people because I work in an addiction clinic. You just hear the stories. Some of the stories don't end well. Some of the stories are lessons, right? Some people carry that burden or their glory. Who knows how God construes it? But some people fall to the bottle. And I'll tell you what, they scare people straight. They do. So better not to be one of those statistics, eh? Better not to be. And yeah, my prayer goes out to people challenged with addiction in 2025, maybe another year of sobriety, another year of wisdom. And yeah, no, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling jazzed up after all that depressing stuff. No, seriously, this has been a really good, reflective chat. I'm glad I came to sit down and just think on these things, about how has this year impacted me? I lost a beloved dog, 15-year-old Labrador. I lost a relationship. Broke up with a woman I was very close with. And I'm so much more buoyant than I expected to be. I'm proud of myself for the way I handled myself throughout these hardships. The dignity, the honesty, the cleanliness. You can go through a breakup or you can go through a bereavement and it destroys you almost. Like, it can take you down. It can get you drinking, or it can make you say regrettable things. And I'm very proud of myself for not doing that. I'm very proud of myself for being poised and graceful with these things. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to demonstrate that. And, hopefully you're all feeling that too. Hopefully you're feeling more grace, more poise, more steadfastness as we approach 2025, as the monetary financial system collapses, as the electromagnetosphere fails this planet, and we are plunged into darkness, into the Stone Age. May your light shine. That is the excitement. Now, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But we can always be assured that, you know, there is that kingdom. There is that kingdom within. And yeah, pray to God that I get the opportunity for a year to really express that and to feel that. So that's been 2 hours I've been talking now. 2 hours, 1 minute and 11 seconds. So I'm going to wrap up. I feel like I've covered what I wanted to cover. The fear of hell has dissipated. It's burnt up. There's no medium left. There's no fuel left in hell. The fire has burnt. There's nothing left. It's snuffed out. The only fear left is the fear that we energize, and we need to confront that. The only obstacles left are those obstacles that we create for ourselves. Because most of the obstacles that come our way, most of them are for us. The challenges are there for us, you know. We're not supposed to be comparing ourselves to billionaires in luxury. Be in the moment, be present, be where you are. And, you know, I'm not saying we all need to be at 100, but let's work our way to fulfill our full potential, right? That sounds good to me. Thank you very much, Luther, for those kind words, and Simon and James. And yeah, look at that. 20 past 11. I'll tell you something. It's 20 past 5 in the morning here, but I'm a night owl. I turned into a night owl at Christmas, you know, on the night shift. But I'll fix that in the new year. I'm quite enjoying these wee night streams because I get my international audience, you know. I like to broadcast out and get the this time, yeah, I've got the Americans and a few Australians at this time. So, guys, God bless you all. Thank you for joining me tonight. Honestly, this has been Round the Campfire with Willie T. And thank you very much for joining in. Jackie, you too. Always a pleasure. James, Simon, Dean, Luther, Sonic, all of y'all. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been great. Honestly. Okay. God bless, guys. I'm glad this seemed to work. Yeah. Texas, honestly, I've got ambition. To see Texas. So let's make that happen. I'll try and get out there either probably 2026 at this point. All right, guys. God bless. Ohio. Nice one. That was a very important state during the election. Vivek Ramaswamy was living in Ohio for a while. The way he was going on. Yeah, thank you, guys. God bless you all. I'll see you all later. Signing off. Take care.